Welcome back to my channel. Today we've got a lot of exciting things to review and deep dive into. Hugo, the brand new limited edition 4K Ultra HD release. The Ranown Westerns big box set with 5 films, 6 cuts, 4K Ultra HD release from Criterion collection. The brand new 4K Ultra HD release of Les Mis. And Steve McQueen's great classic Western film Nevada Smith on Blu Ray. We've got a lot of these exciting titles to dive into today, and I'm going to be doing my exclusive 4K versus Blu-ray image comparisons on some of these, as well as pulling the native data off of the 4K discs of some of these to show you the images and what the quality of every single one of these releases are. Then at the end of every single one of these reviews, I wrap them up with my review scores that let you know the total sum up quality of each of these sets and how they compare to hundreds of other 4Ks and Blu-rays I've exclusively tested and reviewed here on my YouTube channel. So if you love movies and TV series, this channel's the place for you. So make sure to go down there, give this video a like and a thumbs up for me, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you get notified right away when I release any of this exclusive content. That way you get to watch all these videos first. Now, all of these titles I'm going to review here in this video, I've included all of the direct links from Amazon for you to pre-order or buy in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section right below this video. Those links down there never cost you, the viewer, a penny extra, but they do help to support the creation of exclusive videos just like this. So make sure if you're wanting to buy any of these titles after watching this review, make sure to use those links I've posted in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section right down there below. Now to start off with here, we're going to talk about the 2011 film Hugo. Now this is a Martin Scorsese film that I did enjoy. It's a more lighthearted fare than some of his other films that he's done over his career. And I can tell you that this film is an upscaled 4K created from its original 2K DI. So as you're noticing in those comparisons above to the previous Blu-ray release, the upscaled 4K image does have much more depth and detail to it, but it's still limited by that 2K DI source. So when you're seeing in the previous images from the previous Blu-ray release in comparison to the native 4K images pulled directly from these discs, there is a difference in image quality. You get much more detail because of Dolby Vision in HDR10. You also get a much wider color gamut that enhances the overall picture and adds to the depth and detail that you see, giving the film much more life and vibrancy. Now I will tell you, between the Dolby Vision and the HDR10 on this, the Dolby Vision was the clear winner. It was almost a full 10% better looking colors and variations than the HDR10. So if you do have Dolby Vision on this, that was the preferred way I preferred to watch this film. HDR10 looked good, and if you have that, it still looks good and is a nice improvement over the previous Blu-ray, but the Dolby Vision was, like I said, almost a full 10% noticeably better looking on the transfer on this. Now, audio-wise, for this new limited edition 4K release from Arrow Video, it does come with a lossless DTS HD Master Audio 7.1 and 2.0. Talking about the 7.1, that's my preferred way to watch this film. It does have a bit more range. It did sound much better than the previous Blu-ray, much richer tones and sounds. I did think there was a lot more effects that I thought sounded a whole lot better on this in comparison to the previous Blu-ray release. And I will say it had much stronger LFE on this limited edition 4K release than it did on the previous Blu-ray as well. Now I will touch on the 3D. I don't have 3D TVs or players anymore to test things out on for the 3D effect. This does come with 2D version on the Blu-ray disc and a 3D version on the standard Blu-ray disc. My understanding is that the transfer was slightly worked on by Paramount and then Arrow Video and put onto this, but I don't have a way to test that for all of you because I simply have no 3D players or displays anymore. Though I will tell you the 4K is what I was going for this. As I've explained before, 3D has always been one of those things I've thought is kind of gimmicky. I don't enjoy 3D films, I avoid them in theaters, mostly probably due to my medical condition that it's very hard for me to wear glasses because of the extreme pain, because of my constant chronic nerve damage that runs through my head, that it's extremely painful to touch it or to put anything on it. So that's why 3D was just never something I've enjoyed over the last many years. The 4K on this, I can tell you though, the depth and detail on it was a nice improvement over the previous Blu-ray release, And there's some other reasons why you'll notice those increases in detail and depth to that image. I did some more of my exclusive testing and dived into the rough average bitrate on this. I can tell you it had a shockingly high and extremely strong rough average bitrate of 100 megabits per second. It's literally jaw-dropping how good of a job they did with the rough average bitrate on this 4K disc. It is extremely high through the entire runtime of the film, and lends to why I said they did the best job they possibly could with that original 2K DI, upscaling it to 4K and putting it on this 4K disc. That is the most depth and detail they can get from that image, and it is present on this 4K Ultra HD disc. They did not compress it down. They did not shove it onto a smaller disc. And as I dive into the disc here, I'm going to show you what you get in this. It does come with this nice slipcover. I put the sticker for the 4K on here as I usually do. It says Hugo on the side, Arrow Video Limited Edition, and Paramount Studios. Talks about it on here. The 4K is the limited edition 4K contents on there. Disc 1 and 2 though, after that you do get your Blu-ray, which has your 2D version of the film and the 3D version. They are on the same disc though, so I will tell you as far as that goes, my understanding is when you put that much content on there, they had to give some leeway somewhere. And when you watch the 2D version of this film versus the previous 2D Blu-ray, I will say there wasn't much of any differences between the 2D versions when I compared those two. So take that with a grain of salt. As far as the 3D versions, are you going to see massive improvements in the 3D version? Based on what I saw in the 2D version of the Blu-ray, I wouldn't guess there's massive improvements on that, but I can't tell you because I haven't seen the 3D version because I have no way to see that. But I can tell you the 4K disc is where it was at for me. Now, inside here you get two different reversible cover artworks, which I really liked that. Side it says Hugo here, and then again it's slightly different on the back. Talking about your special features though, you get a massive amount of special features, including every single thing I could see on the previous Blu-ray releases, included in this, plus some new ones. Inside here, you do get your 4K Ultra HD disc, plus some extras. Then you get your 2D, 3D disc, and then you get your extra bonus disc here. Now I will tell you, as far as your 4K Ultra HD disc, I did test that. It is a BD100, and it's 100% region free. Thankfully, Arrow Video did not region lock it like some of the studios have been doing lately with their 4K discs. It is 100% region free. And I can tell you with that BD100, that is why they were able to put such a high rough average bitrate on it and not compress it down, because they used a disc size that gave it plenty of room for the image to breathe with no compression issues whatsoever. Now you do get this little booklet in here, which I do like. It talks about the cast and about little behind the scenes things from Martin Scorsese and things about the film itself with pictures in it. And then you also get this double-sided poster that I did like, and I'm glad they included this. Though I was a little disappointed we didn't get the art cards, the postcards that we normally get. There wasn't any of the postcards included in this set, and I did miss that because I always enjoy getting those into my Arrow Video limited edition set. But at least we got the poster and the little booklet. Now, touching on the image here a little bit more, there was some scenes throughout it that were softer looking due to the CGI and limitations in 2011 when this originally came out. There was some things that I noticed looked very soft, like in the train sequences, that just are inherent from the time period, how they filmed it, and then how they put it into the film itself with the CGI. Some of the backgrounds just really did stand out as CGI backgrounds, and you can tell they are. Those, because there's only so much in that actual file originally, and then obviously they're upscaling it to 4K, they're always going to look softer and less realistic no matter how many times they release this on 4K. That's just the way it's always going to look based on the original CGI and how they created this. It looks good, but again, it is limited and there are softer scenes throughout it. I didn't have any issues with any real digital noise. There was some slight, very slight, but I don't really want to reference it because it was so slight that you almost had to have a microscope to even notice it. So that's why I said I don't really want to get into that side of it, because it wasn't something that I would say was negative on this release. It really is a nice looking release for an upscaled 2K source, and that is what we're looking at for this release. Now, getting to my review score for Hugo on 4K Ultra HD. In comparison to that previous Blu-ray release, I do think it's an upgrade, and it gets an excellent 9.1. It's a must buy. You're going to buy and add to your collection. But I will say Arrow Video and Paramount did an amazing job with the disc and the bitrate on this. Wow. They did not overcompress that at all, and I absolutely loved that high bitrate. It shows you what they can really do if they take their time to put it on a large enough disc and not compress things down. I really hope to see more transfers coming out with those higher bit rates that really show how high of a bit rate they can really surprise us with, that presents the best 4K image possibly, even though this is from an original 2K DI. And it is limited image-wise just by that original source material, but a 9.1 is still a must-buy that you're going to want to buy and add to your collection. This is a really nice release by Arrow Video and is the best way to watch Hugo on home video that's ever been released, and it does look pretty darn nice. Now, if you decide you're going to buy Hugo on 4K Ultra HD, make sure to use those links I've posted in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section right below this video. Now, if you decide you're buying any of these, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from all of you. Start that conversation down there below. Let me know what ones of these you're excited for that I dived into and reviewed. Let me know what of these you love as films or what of these you haven't experienced yet. Start that conversation down there in the comment section below. Next up, we have one of my most excited 4K Ultra HD releases that I've been looking forward to for quite a while. This is the Ranown Westerns film collection by Criterion Collection. This is one of those that I absolutely love Randolph Scott as an actor, and I've always really enjoyed his Western films. As most of you know that have followed me for a while here on my YouTube channel, I am a massive Western film fan and Western TV series. But this is one of those that I was really excited when it was announced originally to check out and to see what the quality of it is, because they're films that are very enjoyable. They're not too long. Most of the films in this run between like 75, 80, I think maybe one of them was up to like 85. They're not very long. They keep the story moving at a very brisk pace, but it gets you into the characters, gets you into the story, moves things along. There's good action, there's some good humor in some of them. And you feel like when you're done watching it, that you didn't waste any second when you were watching the film, that there was no dead times or times you felt like could have been cut out. And that's where I feel like this Ranown Westerns collection is really one of those Western film collections that everybody needs to experience and see, because every one of the films in this box set I really enjoyed for different reasons. They are drastically different feelings, each story. The acting in them is different, the characters are different in them, and they have different styles and feels behind them intentionally for a Western series. And I really think the first film in this box set, The Tall T, really sets the tone for the rest of the films. The Tall T at the end of the film has one of my favorite final lines of a character walking off in a Western film. And basically at the end of The Tall T, when the characters are walking off, there's a line that's said, and I don't want to give away who the character is or what they said if you haven't seen the film yet, because I do think there's some good suspense in it, and you're wondering who's going to make it, who's not, and what's going to happen. And that's where I feel like The Tall T does a good job with the dialogue and building tension. At the end of that film, though, one of the lines from one of the main characters is really good. I just love how it sums up basically, that's that. It's over, it's done. And the line's better in the film, but if I say it, I don't want to give something away. And I do enjoy that, and a lot of people just don't realize how important some of those things that Randolph Scott did in this film set future films and Western films in motion that is used nowadays in other styles of filmmaking. These present a great collection of films, and I was interested when I got this, how were they going to hold up? What was the restoration going to be like? As you're noticing in those native images that I pulled above, it does look pretty darn nice. Now, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but for a native 4K 2160p, the image on this is pretty darn nice looking, especially for films that came out between 1957 and 1960. The image on this, they did a nice restoration. To give you an example, this native 4K release was created from a new 4K scan and 4K restoration by Sony from the original 35mm camera negatives of each film. I will say they did a ton of touch-up work, getting rid of blots, splotches, tears, rips. They're gone on this. I literally could maybe pick up one blot or splotch I saw throughout each of the 5 films. That is how rare it was to even see anything like that with the restoration work that they did on these. They are really immaculate looking. Now, on the downside, you will notice when you're watching each of the films, though, there is some digital noise intermixed with the film grain. The film grain is present and healthy throughout every single one of these films, including all 6 cuts, throughout all of them. It's healthy throughout them. You can see it filmically. They did not DNR or use the program Neat to remove or limit it. It is nicely filmic throughout each of the films in here. It just does have some fluctuations where you will see some flickering and fluctuations in the image and the film grain. And that's where you'll notice it kind of flickering in certain parts of the screen with the film grain, especially some of the overall scope where it shows like the horses out in the desert and riding across, and you see the film grain on the rocks and the skies. You'll see some fluctuations and flickering throughout that through each of the films in this box set. So it's not perfect, but it does look pretty darn great. And compared to a lot of 4K restorations from films from the 1957 to 60s, I will say these are pretty darned impressive looking. Now, for each of the films in this box set, they also did a brand new color grading for the Dolby Vision and HDR10. Between the Dolby Vision and HDR10 on all of the films in this box set, they're very similar. I didn't notice any major fluctuations between the Dolby Vision or HDR10. They both were very nice looking and both looked very good. I will say though, the colors will surprise you in this. As you're noticing those images above, they are very stunning in some scenes that you really just think, wow, did they bring some amazing life to films from the 1950s and 60s? That is really amazing. How much detail and color are really present in these native 4Ks that it does surprise me in comparison to a lot of other films from that time period, just how good these really look, and those colors really did look amazing. Now, talking about the audio, you do get an LPCM mono mix for each of the films on this. It is nice that they did a restoration on it. It talks about it in the booklet in here as well. They did a restoration on the audio mix to get rid of hisses, clicks, and other audio issues. Those are all gone. It sounds the best I've ever heard these films sound. They are very nice sounding, but it is limited by that LPCM mono, so you don't have very much range. It doesn't move things around. Obviously, it doesn't use height channels or anything like that from an Atmos. I would have loved for them to have reworked and done like a Dolby Atmos mix on this or something like that. It's simply not. Based on the budget and what they were planning for these films, all that they did was just the restoration on the original audio mixes to fix those to make them sound the best they ever have. And I will say they do. It's clear, it's clean, it's crisp. I didn't have any issues where the sound would go up and out and in and out, where you would have issues where you're turning it up and down constantly because you can't hear and then it get really loud, which sometimes with older films you have those issues. They fixed all of that. It's a very stable audio mix that sounds very good, and you can hear everything very clearly, from boots to gunshots to horses to the wind. All of that is very easy to hear throughout it. It's just, remember, it is a mono mix, so it is limited by that. But I will say the restoration they did on the audio is very clean and clear to hear. Now, showing what you get in this box set, I actually cut out the hole here and left the plastic on here because I like the little sticker where it says 4K, and it also kind of gives a protector over it. And I'll explain what I mean about this. I don't like how Criterion releases some of these releases. I personally think for this price point, and I'm going to kind of dig into this a little rough here, but the price point for this should have come with a nicer case, kind of like what Arrow Video did, with a hard outside instead of this thin little cardboard outside, with thin cardboard with basically plastic glued onto the cardboard. It's not great. When it gets shipped, basically you have to watch, because if it wasn't shipped in something like a big box, you might get yours damaged, broken. Mine actually had one of the spindles broken inside and the disc was loose, because it's just not a really supportive case. It does say on the side here, the listing off each of the films in here, it has The Tall T, Decision at Sundown, Buchanan Rides Alone, Ride Lonesome, and Comanche Station. All of those films, I enjoy each and every one of them. It says Criterion Collection on here. I do like how it looks on the side. Again, I just don't like how thin this is. So that's why I left that plastic on and kind of cut it out to give it a little bit more rigidity. Now, here's what I'm talking about. It is very thin cardboard with basically these plastic glued to it. And this is where I said it's not very protective of the disc. It's very thin, very easily broken, and I'm just disappointed with that. For the price wise of this set, it really should be in one of those nice thick 4K cases where each disc basically has its own leaflet inside a nicer protective outside case. Would make this a more valuable collection and would really show Criterion as an upper scale release. I do think it's overpriced for basically what you're getting case wise. I'm just not a fan of this case at all, because the first one was broken, but they're on these little spindles which do break very easily, these clickers. When you're taking the disc out, be very careful, because those will snap right off and then your disc won't go in. When you open your case, be careful too, because some of these could be loose and they could slide right out. Has each of the discs on here. The top ones are your 4K discs, the bottom ones are your Blu Ray discs. 4K discs, I tested each and every one of the discs in this set. I am happy to announce they did not region lock these. These are 100% region free. So your 4K discs with all of the films on them are all region free. And Criterion did something nice. They put each of the 4K discs as a BD100. And that'll make a difference when I get to the rough average bitrate here in a minute. But they're all 4K discs or BD100s. Blu-ray discs are BD50s. I exclusively tested those as I always do. Bad news on those though, they are all region A locked. All of your Blu-ray discs, which are the discs below, are 100% region A locked. So if you live outside of the US, you're gonna need a region-free or multiplayer to play those discs. Now you also get this nice book from Criterion Collection that talks about each and every one of the films in here, gives a synopsis, talks about how long they are, talks about the story and the actors in them, and I will say I did like this book. It is a very enjoyable read. It's pretty nice sized, and I do think this adds to why I enjoyed this release so much, because I really enjoy that they put in these time and work into these books that add to the movie memorabilia you get to enjoy out of these sets. Now, getting to the rough average bitrate, I dived into this and did the rough average bitrate on each of the films in this box set. It was an extremely high and healthy 80 to 90 megabits per second throughout each of the films in this box set. I was really surprised at how high and healthy it was for these films. That's where I said the disc size that they used, not over compressing things. They did a great job with the rough average bitrate through each and every one of the films in this box set and each of the cuts of the films. As I said, there's 5 films and 6 cuts in this box set. Every single one of them had that high rough average bitrate, and it was very noticeable and enjoyable throughout each and every one of them. You could see a lot of depth and detail in their faces and clothing. That really does surprise me for films from this time period. Now, as you've been noticing in those native images pulled from these 4K discs above, it is a very nice looking image, and it is a very enjoyable box set. Getting to my review score, this gets a very highly recommended 9.0. It is a must buy. That 9.0 lets you know where this falls image and sound quality wise compared to hundreds of other 4Ks I've tested and reviewed. It's highly recommended. It's a must buy. I do wish, as I said, those slight nitpicky things would be changed. Really can't stand the packaging on this. Criterion, when you're watching this and hearing this, you gotta change your packaging. I cannot stand how easily damaged, crushed, and broken the disc and the packaging in this can become. It's not one that is very strong or sturdy. You put it on your shelf, you can't stack anything on it. That is how weak the cardboard, and I hate to say cardboard, it's really like little thin, like slightly thicker paper almost. It's just not great packaging for a collector's edition set that really should be the ultimate way to own it. It should be in better packaging with a better boxed case around it. That's my big gripe with this. But 9.0 is still a must buy. I absolutely loved this release. It is highly recommended you buy and add this to your collection. And if you've not experienced these films yet, each one of them tells different stories. Like the Tall T starts off with a story about a rancher that basically used to be a cowhand. He goes on and starts his own ranch and basically comes into some bad times with some criminals. And one of the criminals is played by one of my favorite Western actors of all time, Richard Boone. He is great in it. Man, he simmers in it. I think he does a great job in the film and adds to basically the playoff between him and Randolph Scott do very good playing off of each other. Loved that film, and I loved each and every one of the films in this box set. I really enjoy these, and I love Western films. Seeing them on 4K with this type of restoration is really one of those things I hope we see more and more 4K Ultra HD releases of classic Western films. This is a must buy you don't want to miss out on, especially now that it's on sale. Don't wait till it goes back up to full price around 130 or 180, whatever that price was, which is way overpriced for this box set and this casing. But right now with the price it's around $75, $80. That's the price you need to buy it at right now. I put that sale link that it's on sale for right now in that description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section right below. Don't wait long to order your copy, because once this goes back up in price, it's not worth paying that full price. I'm just being honest with all of you. It literally is not worth it for the boxing. That sale price that it's at right now, that's the price you need to buy this at. And these Criterion Collection prices don't go on sale very often. Click on that link I posted down there below to order your copy. this is one of those you're going to really enjoy all of the films in this box set. Next up, we have the 2012 Les Mis. Now, this is one of those musical drama spectacles that is very epic in scope, and I think this film does a very good job portraying that. I think the acting in it is very good. Now, for this 4K Ultra HD release, I will tell you it does have HDR10 on it. That HDR10 image, it is more detailed. It does have much more depth than the previous 2013 Blu Ray transfer did. And you'll notice that from the opening all the way till the end. I will say though, it's not one of those reference amazing depth and details that you'll notice on the 4K image. It looks good, but it's not one of those that'll just shock you from beginning to end. It is an improvement over the previous Blu Ray, and when I get to my review score, you'll understand what I mean by that. But as far as the HDR10 goes on this, that's where it makes the most difference on the image that you see on this. Compared to that previous Blu Ray release, the previous Blu Ray had issues with black crush. The previous Blu Ray was over darkened. Numerous dark scenes on that Blu Ray were very hard to make out and hard to see. You couldn't see things very well at all. It was just literally just solid black crush on that previous 2013 Blu Ray transfer. I am happy to report that on the new 4K Ultra HD release though, those have been fixed. They are not over darkened anymore. You can see much more detail in those darker scenes. There's much more depth in it, and it's not got the black crush that existed on the previous Blu Ray release. Though I will point this out, I have seen it misreported quite a few times already that this has black crush. That is not the case at all. You have to understand the original film elements, how it was intended, and how it was shown originally in theaters. This has darker scenes in it. You can see them perfectly fine on this 4K Ultra HD release. It is not black crush. And that's where there's a lot of folks that just really don't know what they're talking about, but there's no black crush on this. It does have darker scenes, but when you compare them to the previous Blu Ray release, you can see them perfectly fine on this, and the HDR10 helps that. With the lights to darks, you can see so much more, and it does have some brilliant whites, inky blacks, without going into the black crush area. And it does look quite a bit better image quality wise in those nighttime or darker scenes, drastically better than the bad black crushed Blu Ray release from before. So thankfully, all of those issues from that poor 2013 Blu Ray release with the black crush and the image, those are fixed, repaired, and gone on this new 4K Ultra HD release. Now, showing what you get in this, you do get this really nice shiny slipcover in the first pressings. Talks about all the special features on here. You do get all the same special features as the previous Blu Ray release, because you get the previous Blu Ray release included in this as well, so they're all included in this if you do want to watch any of those. Now, showing what you get inside here, you do get your digital copy code that would be there for a 4K copy of the movie. This is your original Blu Ray disc. It is 100% region free. Your new 4K disc, I did test that as well. It's 100% region free as well. So both discs you'll be able to play, no issues whatsoever. Though as I said, this is the horrible, bad looking transfer. Compared to this, it is night and day different as far as all the issues with the black crush and the duller looking image are gone on this. It does look quite a bit better. But again, it's not amazing looking for a 4K transfer, but it is a good, noticeable increase in depth and detail over that previous Blu Ray. Now, talking about the Dolby Atmos, that's where the big treat comes in. The Dolby Atmos on this sounded very healthy. It had good use of the height channels, it had some good LFE on it. There was numerous scenes throughout it that I was really surprised how they used that Dolby Atmos really effectively, and it just really made you feel like you were sitting inside the motion picture, which is what I'm looking for with Dolby Atmos. I've talked about this a lot over the years, that if you haven't gotten into Dolby Atmos, you'll want to check out my How to Get a Dolby Atmos Home Setup. There is really a lot of things that I tested out when I created that video, testing out multiple different sound bars and home theater setups to get a reference quality home theater setup. You'll want to check out that video. It really immerses you when you have a good Dolby Atmos setup where you feel like it takes you into the picture because the sound is all around you, above you, and it just makes you feel like you're really sitting inside the film itself. This does a very good job of that. It's not reference quality Dolby Atmos, but it is a good Dolby Atmos mix. Very enjoyable. There's scenes that'll make you smile where you realize that, wow, they really use that height channel really well, and you hear it coming from above, which is what I really enjoy about the Dolby Atmos system. Now, talking about a little bit more of my exclusive testing, I dived into the rough average bitrate on this. it had an inconsistent 60 megabits per second. And when I say inconsistent, it went low, high throughout the entire film. You'd have one scene that was extremely high in the hundreds, and then another scene that was down like at 30, 20 megabits per second. But it has a very inconsistent bit rate throughout it. So that's one of those things that does affect why I said the image is decent looking, and it is better looking than the previous Blu-ray release by fixing a lot of those issues that previous Blu-ray release had. Now, getting to my review score. For Les Mis, this gets a good 8.7. It's not going to knock your socks off as the best release ever. It's a worthwhile upgrade though over the poor Blu-ray release, and the Dolby Atmos to me was worth the price of admission. That is the biggest addition that I enjoyed on this release, was that Dolby Atmos mix. It really was enjoyable and was to me what made this a big selling point. The price point of it, it's not very much either. So I think that's a good thing on that side, because you can see, like I said, the inconsistencies in the image and things like that are just something that lends to why it is an 8.7. Image, sound quality, that's where it falls. Now you know the quality of this. If you're gonna buy this and add this to your collection, let me know in the comment section below, and make sure to use those Amazon links I posted right down there below. Next up, we've got Nevada Smith with Steve McQueen. This is one of those Western films that I really, really enjoyed. I'm a huge Steve McQueen fan. If you haven't checked out some of my previous reviews with Steve McQueen in them, I've done a lot of them here on my YouTube channel. You'll want to go check out those reviews after you get done watching this video, but there's a lot of his releases on 4K Ultra HD, just like the Magnificent 7. I absolutely love the Magnificent 7. If you haven't checked out that review, you'll want to go watch that one. But Steve McQueen is great in this Western film. He really does have just such a simmer on screen. And I really think Steve McQueen had such an essence of cool guy presence in all of his films that he was a massive star that is hard to replicate nowadays. I think of like actors nowadays that kind of have the same charisma and presence on screen as like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has a big presence on screen. He is a big star. His films, he has a very big and wide range in his acting, and when he is in those films, you just know you're going to enjoy his acting no matter what it is. Steve McQueen was the same way, and I loved every one of his films. Well, Kino Lorber sent this to me about 2 weeks early for review for me to dive into and analyze. As always, I appreciate when the studios send me these things for review to review for all of you. This is one of those, though, that I was personally looking forward to a lot. As I've shared a lot, I love Western films, and this is one of my favorites. I can tell you, this new HD master that is on this is created from a brand new 4K scan of the original 35mm camera negative. Now, I know I get a lot of questions here on my YouTube channel, why didn't they release it on 4K Ultra HD? There's limitations on budgets with studios. They try to pick a lot of the times what titles they think are going to sell well enough on 4K Ultra HD, and that's kind of the decisions that go behind those. So in this case, my understanding is this is one of those they thought maybe either budget-wise it would do better on Blu-ray. And I can tell you that this new Blu-ray release does look very good. That new 4K scan helped fix a lot of issues with fluctuations, film grain issues. I will say you'll notice some digital noise on this. That was present throughout it. You'll see digital noise in scenes throughout it, but it's not too heavy and it's just slight. Blends in a lot with the film grain you'll see throughout it. Otherwise, the image does look good. There are some slight speckles and little things you'll notice with smudges that it kind of would need a brand new 4K restoration from the ground up to get rid of every single one of those. But for Nevada Smith, this is the best I have ever seen this film look on home video. And I did really enjoy this film. Steve McQueen, as I said, is superb in this. Now, for this release, Kino Lorber did something pretty cool. They gave you a slipcover. This is a first pressing only slipcover. The artwork that's on the inside is completely different. So you get this slipcover only in first pressings. On the side here, it does say Nevada Smith. Talks about the film. This film did come out in 1966. It is in color and it is 130 minutes runtime. And it does have English subtitles on this. Now I will tell you the negative of this release. This release is 100% Region A locked. I did test it exclusively as I always do here on this YouTube channel. The disc is 100% Region A locked. So if you live outside the US and you want to import this, you'll have to have a region-free or multi-region player, as I've exclusively tested and reviewed here on this YouTube channel, to watch this disc if you live outside of Region A. So Canada, US, Mexico, we're all Region A. Anyone outside of that, you will need a different type of player, multi-region, region-free. As I said, I've reviewed them here on this channel to be able to watch this disc. This is your reversible artwork on the Blu-ray, and I really love this artwork. The explosion, and how cool it is just looking with Steve McQueen with his Winchester rifle there. Really loved the artwork on this. So the reversible artwork is a big treat on this release, getting both the slipcover and the reversible artwork. I really like that on this release. And inside here, this is your Region A locked Blu-ray disc. The story of Nevada Smith, with basically his parents being killed and then him going on the hunt as a gunslinger after the killers, is really entertaining and very enjoyable. And it's personally one of my favorite Steve McQueen Western films. It's one of those that as a gunslinger film, it has some great elements, numerous huge actors throughout this film, have guest appearances throughout the entire film that lend to why it has such a cool feel behind the film. It's one of those Western films you must experience. And this Blu-ray comes highly recommended from me as a must buy. You're gonna buy and add to your collection. Check this film out. If you love Western films at all, you've gotta experience this film. This is one of those that you will watch over and over again. Now, if you're deciding you're gonna buy any of these releases I reviewed in this video, use those links I posted directly down there in the comment section below. They never cost you a penny extra, but those do make a drastic difference. If you enjoy the time, the hard work, all the testing and analysis I exclusively do here on my YouTube channel, make sure to join my Collector's VIP Club. I can't stress how important or how much that matters to the creation of every single one of these videos. As I've explained a lot recently, I've had to limit the amount of 4K versus Blu-ray image comparisons I can create. That's simply due to budgeting. Because of how much time and work they take, I can't do as many as I was able to do before, simply because the budget has become so small and so tight. I go on pennies here on my YouTube channel. Every dollar I get from the Collector's VIP Club, after what YouTube takes their percentage of 35%, I get $1. That dollar makes a big difference. Every single member makes a difference. Don't wait for somebody else to join or support these videos. If you watch them every week and they help you out and you enjoy these, join my Collector's VIP Club. It only costs you a couple of bucks, but that makes a difference in me being able to continue doing this every single week. I want to say thank you to all of my current Collector's VIP Club members. All of you are absolutely amazing and only make it possible for me to make the videos that I make even right now. As always, I truly hope all of you have a blessed day, that you enjoyed this, all this time, work that I spent on all of these reviews. Make sure to start that conversation down there below and let me know what of these you're excited for. What of these you're gonna buy now. Make sure to use those links down there. As always, I truly hope all of you have a blessed day. I've always got something new, early, exclusive, and exciting coming out very soon.